Okay, good old if and or. I'm doing these three together because they're often quite handy to use together. The problem with them is that you can get a little bit carried away and you can start adding ifs and ands and ors and all sorts of things in nested formulas and get yourself into a right mess trying to figure out where all the brackets go and which one relates to which or and which and which one you're currently in, and it can get confusing if you try and do too much with this. But I want to show you the basics that you can get your head around how each of these functions can be useful to you within a formula. So let's start with the first one of if. It's fairly straightforward, equals if, and then it just basically is what is the logic, and if that logic is true, what do you put, and if false, what do you put? So let's just say, for argument's sake, we're looking for 5. So we say if that one, E7 equals 5, then what do we do for true? Let's say if it's true, we put in an X. So we put the X within the speech brackets, and if it's false, let's just keep it as blank. So enter. So now we can see straight away that that one is the only one that equals 5. We're only looking at the first column, so that's all good. So that's what the if function essentially does. You put in a logical test here, and then you put in what would be returned if it was true or if it was false. So that's straightforward enough. But now what happens if we want to combine an and? So what happens if we say equals if, and now we want to include an and or an or, because now we want to say what happens if equal or that one equals 5, that one equals 5. Now we remember, because we put the or, we've got to know what we call nested formula. So when we close this bracket, we've closed the or bracket, we're still busy in the if, because now we got to the second column of the if. So if either of those criteria are met, then we do X, otherwise blank. And then we go down. And now we've got the same result because both 5s are on the line, both 5s are on the same line. Let's just change those 5s to 8s, where I've got the 8s on different lines. Now all of a sudden, we've got 2 X's, because it says if that one equals 8 or that one equals 8, then give us a blank. So if 8 appears in either of those columns, then obviously we've got ourselves a blank. So that's what is useful when we're using the or. But now what would happen is if we change that or and we change that to an and, so now what it needs is they'll both disappear because it needs both of them to be 8, and they're not both 8. Whereas if that was 8, then it would turn to be changed to X. So the if function obviously is quite straightforward, but then within the if function, you can add in an and or an or to check whether they're all matching or whether it's in one, or whatever the case might be. I mean, I've used fairly simple, straightforward formulas in there. But then if you really want to go advanced, you can actually then combine ors within ands to give you an or with an and then you've just got to keep track of where you are within the formula. And that can get a little bit confusing if you do want to go to that level. But yeah, hopefully that explains how the if and or functions work.